Is Africa still rising? That was the question being tackled by politicians and international organizations at the recent IMF summit in Mozambique. In the past decade, Sub-Saharan Africa has become the second fastest growing economic region in the world. The IMF predicts growth of 5.4% this year, up from 4.9% in 2013. Hopes are high, but so are the stakes. Africa is a region that has always attracted monikers. In the 1990s, it was a hopeless continent. More recently, the Africa Rising narrative has taken hold. But now, the IMF is talking about Africa watching, a sobering reminder of the challenges that the region still faces. While many African nations have been relishing a run of economic success, some analysts now say the good news story is fragmenting. Countries that have been courted by foreign investors and enjoyed market approval are facing questions about unsustainable budgets and a lack of forward planning.
Classic example is Ghana. I think Ghana, which was a poster child, is now an orphan. And you can see that in the way the currency is behaving. Zambia, again, I think similar mistakes. So one's got to be much more careful. It's a stock picker's continent now. It's not just throw a dart at it and you're going to make some money.
A growing concern is poor investment in infrastructure, vital not only to service the needs of a population that is expected to double to 2.4 billion in the next 30 years, but also essential for the export of the continent's valuable natural resources.
You can see that whether it's road, whether it's port, airport, railways, public transportation, there's a lot to be done. And with a growing population, you need to plan, you need to do it in an organized way, not randomly, with a view to developing growth and facilitating the diversification of these economies.
The financing of such development is a hot topic among Africa watchers. A raft of sub-Saharan countries have issued sovereign bonds in recent years. A record $11 billion was raised in 2013, almost double the amount of the year before. However, the IMF has expressed caution against an overburdening of debt by governments.
Those countries that have gone to the market, that have issued bonds, whether in local currencies like Nigeria or in foreign currencies like others, 14 of them, are recognized as good destination of investment. The second signal, though, is that we see that the yields is going up, which means that the risks is seen as increasing by the investors. And probably to those two messages, the governments should be attentive and should be cautious about not overloading the country with too much debt.
Foreign investment remains strong, though. The Africa Development Bank predicts flows of $80 billion this year from countries like China and large institutional investors. The money is not yet reaching everyone, however. Inclusive growth may be a catchphrase among policymakers, but in many places poverty remains rampant and unemployment high, especially among the youth, a fast-growing demographic that optimists cite as one of the continent's biggest hopes.
We have a growth in GDP by 5.5% as an average in Africa, but I think that we can do better. Maybe we can reach at least 7%, and why not a double-digit growth in the 10 coming years if you make some reforms, structural and sectoral reforms, and for instance improving good governance in Africa, and also while working for peace and security in the region, we can have a more rapid growth in Africa.
After a continent-wide boom, the time has come to judge African countries on their individual merits. It is fair to say that most nations are still proving to be a bastion of economic growth, but without further reforms, many countries will struggle to advance the Africa Rising narrative. Javier Blas, Financial Times, Maputo.